step. Now we're going to look at mapping from EverLogic to QuickBooks.
Essentially, mapping is how we set up everything in EverLogic and how it communicates with QuickBooks, from your payment options to the types of labor you perform, whether retail or warranty. We also need mapping for your different inventory items, your units for sale, as well as your parts. So it's very important we understand the basics of mapping, and this is going to be a general overview. So essentially we want to first, we're going to have to identify what chart of accounts account we want this item that we're going to create to go to. So we have to look at what are we setting up? Are we setting up a payment type? Are we setting up a type of inventory? Or are we setting up a labor type? So we want those identified first, and we want to have an idea of where we want to have this end item go in your chart of accounts. So once we've determined that, we can go ahead and go to QuickBooks, create those items in product and services. Under the gear icon on QuickBooks Online, we want 3 accounts created. We want the asset account, the income account, and a cost of goods account. All 3 will need to be created for the one item. Okay, so we're going to start off by doing the inventory item first. Again, you're going to go ahead and hit New under your products and services menu. And from there, it'll give you some options. You're going to hit non-inventory, and you're going to name your item. So I'm going to name it inventory, parts and accessories. We're going to select an income account, and it's going to relate back to it. So we kind of had an idea that this was going to be parts driven. So we're going to look for an inventory parts chart of account that we can identify. We'll go ahead and type this in here. This is very specific, and uppercase, lowercase, dashes, everything has to be precise when you're searching. See, there you go. Parts and accessories is there. And then we're going to go ahead and select the expense, the same thing. Inventory, there you go. And we're going to have it save and close that one. So that's created. And the next one we can create is going to be our sales or income item. That's going to be under new. Again, we're going to hit non-inventory, name it. We're going to name this one Sales, Parts, Counter Retail. These are the parts that I sell out of my parts department. No service work done. All right, so we'll go ahead and look for that in our income account. We have another identically named item in our chart of accounts. So Sales, Parts, Counter Retail right there. Okay, select that as your income and as the expense or purchasing account. There we are. All right, so we save and close that one. We have one more to go, the cost of goods item. So we're going to go ahead again and hit new. Non-inventory, name it. Okay, we're going to look for, again, the same naming convention in our chart of accounts that we're going to map it to on the QuickBooks side. So parts, there it is, COGS, parts, counter, retail. Okay, same thing for the expense account down here. Save and close. So all 3 of our items are now created for our one product, okay? So we're going to go ahead, and from here we would go to EverLogic. And in EverLogic, we're going to go to the Office Operations tab, and then the Set Map Codes. And your map codes will appear. They're broken down into categories. As you can see, I like to look at them all at once. That's just my preference. And to do that, I drag the Found Where button down into the grid, and it opens every single map code there is. So I'll go ahead and look for our new item. It's the Parts Counter Retail. There we go. Retail Parts Sales. Here's my item that I need to go ahead and map. Okay. So again, the asset account that we created, that's going to be inventory hyphen parts and accessories. There it is in the list. If it does not show up in the list, for some reason it didn't save in QuickBooks, you'll have to go back and fix that. Here's our income that we're going to select. Again, that was the sales portion of that. Sales, parts, counter retail. There it is in the list. And our cost of goods, we're going to search for. Let's see, parts, counter retail. There it is. I want to make sure that shows up in the list. I'll highlight it. Okay, and then we'll just hit OK from there. And after we hit OK, it's going to come up with an alert window. This is not an error code. This is not going to stop you from mapping your item over. This is just to say, hey, you're going to make a big change in EverLogic. Are you sure? And all we have to do is type in our reason, initial mapping. You can put your initials with it. You're already logged under your username, so it captures it there. It has to be eight characters. So as long as we have 8 characters, we can record that as the reason we're making the change. And before you end this, you have to go ahead and hit the save button under the map codes menu right here. Okay, make sure you do that. And that will save. And now we can go ahead and when we sell a part in our parts department under invoices, this will be what is mapped from EverLogic to QuickBooks.
All right, so then we will continue by talking about mapping vehicle types in QuickBooks.
Yes, we can go ahead and map a vehicle type in QuickBooks. Essentially what your first step is going to be is to identify the inventory account, which is the asset account, the sales account, which is the income account, and the cost of goods sold account. We need all 3 of those created in QuickBooks to map to EverLogic for the one inventory item, vehicle type. All right, so we will start with going to QuickBooks. Pull it up here. We want to go to the gear icon and pull up the products and services tab. Here we can create the items I just listed, the inventory, sales, and COGS. We go ahead and select products and services. And here to create a new one, we would just select new from the top menu. And then we go ahead and select non-inventory. On the product service information window, we're going to go ahead and name the item, and we're going to name this one inventory RV used. Okay. Then we would go down to the income account and select the account from the chart of accounts that you want this to go to. Essentially, this would be, again, an inventory asset item. So we're going to look under our assets on the chart of account to see if anything lines up to meet that standard. So from here, I'd want to go ahead and select inventory serialized used for our inventory RV used item. And also, that's the income part of that. I want to also select the same thing for my expense part. Save and close. And one item is completed. We're going to have to go ahead and select the other 2 items, the sales and the cost of goods sold. So let's do the sales next. Again, we're going to go ahead and select non-inventory. Name it. I'm going to name this sales RV used. Going to my income account, I'm going to look for an income account that will be in that kind of category. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select sales for this item, and I will go ahead and select sales again for the expense portion of it. Go ahead and save that. Last, I have to go ahead and set up the cost of goods sold RV used item. Again, new, non-inventory, cost of goods sold, RV used. Selecting my income account once again. So we'll look for cost of goods sold serialized inventory. Same for the expense. Again, cost of goods sold serialized inventory. Select and save and close. So we have our 3 items created now. So they are all created in QuickBooks. So now we would need to go over to EverLogic, and then you're going to want to go to Office Operations, Set Map Codes. You can try to decipher which category that might be found where. I like to open the whole thing up and look at it from a very large standpoint. All you have to do is drag the Found Where action button into the menu, and it opens every map code up for you to review. I'm looking for my RV used. Now, I've been told that the RV is going to be a park model, so we're going to select Park Model Used for our RV. And once I find that, I'm going to go ahead and select the QB item column on that line item. It's going to appear a new window to edit my park model used. It's going to have an option for an asset account, an income account, and a cost of goods account that I just created in QuickBooks. So we're going to go ahead and change this. We're going to go ahead and change it over to the ones we just created. So I'm looking for asset account is going to be that inventory RV used. So, and again, they're in alphabetical order. You can type it in or you can scroll. Again, we're going to look for sales, RV used, right there in the list, and COGS, RV used. If it is not in the list, then it has not been created in QuickBooks, and you'll have to go back to QuickBooks to check on that. Hit OK, and you will get a window that appears that wants to confirm that this is what you want to do. You want to map this item in QuickBooks. This is not an error code. This is not going to stop you from mapping your item over. This is just to say, hey, you're going to make a big change in EverLogic. Are you sure? And all we have to do is type in our reason, initial mapping. You can put your initials with it. You're already logged under your username, so it captures it there. It has to be eight characters. So as long as we have 8 characters, we can record that as the reason we're making the change. And before you end this, you have to go ahead and hit the save button under the map codes menu right here. Okay, make sure you do that. You're going to want to close it out before you utilize it so that the system can refresh. And now you are available to go ahead and use the new item inventory.
All right. So we also have some information to share about part categories. This is item level mapping.
Yes, part categories and item level mapping. There's a system rule, item level accounting, that allows for parts that have a part category to be separated by that part so that it's more granular and you can see per item how that is selling and so forth. You go ahead to get this all set up. You want to start by creating a new part category. Now this is understanding that we've already set up the items in QuickBooks to be mapped. So you've already set up your income account, your asset account, and your cost of goods account for this item that you'll be mapping and creating. All right, so we'll go to the part category section. That's going to be on EverLogic, and you'll go to System Setup, and then Part Categories is almost directly under that little tab. Select that, and then you're going to go ahead and select New for a new part category. And there's only a couple required fields in the edit item listing here. The name, the income item, the asset item, and the cost of goods item. So let's fill that information out. This is going to be for a service fee. This item level mapping is good also for service fees, different gift card options. You can use it for non-part options. So it's very versatile in what you can go ahead and set it up for. And then it will report on those individual items so you can see the granular effect on your dealership. Again, the name, I'm going to go ahead and name it service fee. And again, you must have it as is active. This checkbox must be checked. Again, we don't need these values in here. I'll go ahead and delete those. Okay. And we want to do an income item. That's going to be our sales service fee we're looking for. There we go. And then our asset item is going to be the inventory service fee right there. And our cost of goods item is going to be our cost of goods service fee. There we go. The cost of goods account and asset account will automatically populate there at the bottom for you. We'll go ahead and hit OK. It brings up a little disclaimer. This is not an error code. This is not going to stop you from mapping your item over. This is just to say, hey, you're going to make a big change in EverLogic. Are you sure? And all we have to do is type in our reason, initial mapping. You can put your initials with it. You're already logged under your username, so it captures it there. It has to be eight characters. So as long as we have 8 characters, we can record that as the reason we're making the change. And before you end this, you have to go ahead and hit the save button. Okay, make sure you do that. And once we've done that, we still need to go in and change the system rule. Now the system rule is under the System Setup tab. We'll go to System Rules. And we are looking for item level accounting. So now see how it has 2 there? One is already set up for Birmingham. This one is for Jacksonville. So I'm going to go ahead and select the blank one here. I'm going to select Jacksonville as my location. It is location specific. And I'm going to go ahead, the answer on this to change it to report on the item level is 1. And I'll hit OK. And again, save at the top of the System Rules menu. And that's it.
Now I've received an error prompting me to map the core when sending the end of day over to QuickBooks. How do I map the core?
The core is not mapped error. This could be due to two different types of situations. Either your dealership recently started using cores, possibly due to new regulation, or it was entered in error. Today we're going to discuss how, if it was entered in error, how to fix it. Essentially, you would go to your end of day that the core is located on. So we're going to go ahead and search end of days. And we're going to go ahead and go to the 30th. And here you would have to go ahead and unprocess the end of day to go ahead and work with the core and remove it if it was entered in error. So we're going to undo, unprocess. Okay. So now we're going to look for the core on the end of day tally. Essentially, we would look in the transactions. You would go to your total transactions or total sales. Will give you all the ROs, invoices that are on that end of day. That's where you're going to find the issue with the core. If you scroll over, you can see where the core column is. And right there, our $50 is sitting right there under the core column. So we know that it's this RO that we want to remove that core from. So we'd go ahead and open that RO, and that is RO number 11378. And essentially, we would want to open the RO by going to Tools and Reopen. And now that view only goes away as well. Now from here, we can go ahead and remove the core from the Parts tab. And we will locate it. There's that part of the core. And you're also going to look for the cleaning part of the core right here. So the clean and the dirty part, you're going to want to remove. So we would select the line item, remove part. Again, go to the other one. Here it is with the charge. Remove that. Now we've removed both the clean and the dirty part of the core, and then we're going to go ahead and save this. And then we're going to go ahead and close it back out. Yes. Now this is not an error message. It's essentially asking you what day you want this to go on to. Do you want it to be on the new end of day, or do you want it to stay where it was previously saved? We want to go ahead and select where it was previously saved. So we would hit no. Okay, always read those messages. And we'll go ahead and close out that RO. That is reclosed. We'll go ahead and reprocess the end of day. And I'm just going to pull it back up here. Under Office Operations, search end of day. We want to make sure it's not processed at this time. So we want to check the box is processed and search for it. And there it is, the 30th. We'd go ahead and process it from here. And you're good. They can go ahead and post the end of day as it stands now.
I've received an error relating to parts inventory map code. How do I fix this?
The parts inventory map code error may appear if you don't have it properly mapped over to QuickBooks. This will be seen when you do cycle counts or you're adjusting your inventory on your parts. You would use this code. It would come up in your end of day. I'm going to give you an example of seeing the error code. It would be when you're processing the end of day. You would go ahead and save that. If you see a blank box here, that means it hasn't been mapped. So that'll be one indication that there's going to be an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and try to save it. Error posting to QuickBooks. This may be one of the error messages you get. So we're going to go ahead and map that. And that's going to be in your map codes here. You would go down to your parts and service, found here. And you would look for your PI, Parts Inventory Map Code. And if we go here, if we double click on it, we can see that there is nothing assigned to the asset or the cost of goods sold field. You do need one for each of these. So our asset is going to be our inventory, parts and accessories. So we'll select that. And then our cost of goods is going to be our parts adjustment. Now, both of these items need to be set up in QuickBooks prior to setting them up here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and save that. You also will receive a message like this. Again, it's just a message asking why you're changing the mapping. It is not an error. You'll go ahead and put your reason in here, record it. Always remember to hit save. And if we go back to our end of day, and you can see the field has been filled in now. So this should map over correctly, and we'll save it and it should process. The invoice has been created in QuickBooks. Your indication that it has been processed and you're good.
This error says DEP is not mapped. How do I map it?
The DEP map code error will appear when there is incorrect mapping from EverLogic to QuickBooks. This is the error message that you will receive. DEP has not been mapped. Please go to set map codes and assign the correct mapping. So we're going to hit OK, and we're going to do what it says. We're going to go over to our set map codes, and I have it up here. Essentially, you would go down to DEP. You can go ahead and pull your found where button into the grid, and that will open up all fields. Then you can search for DEP on the list. There it is. We're going to go ahead and map this. Again, this is customer deposits. There it is, and you'll hit OK. This is just a alert message. It's not an error message. This just asks why you're mapping, remapping this. And we can do initial mapping. And then we'd hit save. And your deal should go over to QuickBooks.